Hi guys, today we conclude our series on variation. So we'll be looking at partial variation, and the problem we have in front of us says x is partly constant and partly varies as y. When y equals 5, x equals 7, and when y equals 7, x equals 8. So we were asked to find x when y equals 11. So this is how you interpret problems on partial variation. The question says x is partly constant. So it means that x is partly constant and partly varies as y. So what you do in that case is we can pick two terms as constant. Let's say x equals to k. X is partly constant. Remember, k is a constant and x partly varies as y. So we'll say and x also varies as y. Now, I'm going to try to put these same statements, these two statements, I'm going to put them together. So x equals to k plus. Now remember this statement also. Remember what we learned in the previous lessons that when you have x varies as y, it simply means that you're going to take off the proportionality sign and introduce a constant. So let me introduce c as a constant. Remember, the constant can be any letter. So now I'm going to put them together. X equals k plus cy. So that's our expression having the two statements together. Now the question says when x equals to 5, sorry, when y equals to 5, x equals to 7. So x from these statements, x is 7. So we'll say 7 equals to k plus y is 5. So I'm going to say 5c. And then I'll call this my equation 1. Then the next one, they said when y is 7, x equals to 8. So 8 equals to k plus y equals to 7. So I'm going to say 7c. And that is my equation 2. Now, as you can see, we have two linear equations, so we're going to solve them simultaneously. What do? We can decide to subtract equation 1 from equation 2, meaning 8 minus 7 equals to k minus k plus 7c minus 5c. So at the end of the day, we have 8 minus 7 equals 1. K minus k, they cancel out. Then 7c minus 5c equals to 2c. At the end of the day, I have, of course, I'm going to divide through by the coefficients of c. So c now is half. So we've gotten our value for c. Now we're going to try to get our value for k. So I can insert it into any of these equations. So let me pick equation 1. So 7 equals to k plus 5c. Now this time I'm not going to write c, rather I would put the value for c, which is 1 over 2. So 7 equals k plus 5 over 2. At the end of the day, we are going to try to collect like terms. So this 5 minus 5 over 2 crosses the equality sign and it becomes 7 minus 5 over 2 equals to k. Okay, so then I'm going to try to just quickly solve this fraction and pick the LCM of this fraction is 2. So 1 goes into 2, 2 times 7 is 14. Then 2 goes into 2. 1 times 5 is 5, yeah. So 14 minus 7 is 9. So k equals to 9 over 2. So k is 9 over 2. That's our answer here. Now that we've gotten the value of k to be 9 over 2, the next thing we do is to look at the question proper. Remember, the question says find x when y equals to 11. So I'm going to come over to this other side and say, okay, first of all, let's try to remember the relationship is now going to be x equals to, what's our value for k? 9 over 2 plus, what's our value for c? 1 over 2 y. So this is the relationship between x and y. Now I'm going to find the value for x when y equals to 11 using this relationship. So 9 over 2 plus 1 over 2 when y equals to 11 is simply going to give me times 11. Yeah, so this is 9 over 2. This is 11 over 2. Of course, since they both have the same denominator, I can simply just sum up the uh, numerator. So that's going to give me 9 plus 11 is 20. So this is 20 divided by 2. And that's 10. So the value for x when y equals to 11 is 10. So that's it. Now we're done with this first problem. We're going to look at a second problem which says the cost C of a car. The question says the cost C of a car is partly constant and partly varies with the time it takes to do the work. So I want, of course, they've already told us that the cost C. So this is going to be the cost C is partly constant. So this time I'm going to use A and B as my constants. So since C is partly constant, I'm going to say C equals A, and partly varies and partly varies. So C varies as B. Sorry, C varies as T. Okay. Now remember this particular statement, I can take off the proportionality sign and introduce a constant of proportionality. So that's where my B comes in, the second constant I was talking about. So and partly varies with the time to do the work. So now I'm going to put both statements into one statement. So C equals to A plus B T. So this is what it means, because this is where we're going to get our relationship from. So this is C, the cost C of a car is partly constant and partly varies with the time it takes to do the work. So if it costs 35, it costs 35 naira for a 5.5 hour service. For a 5.5 hour service, so that means the time for 35 naira is 5.5 hour service. So 5.5. So this is my equation 1. And it costs 29 naira for a 4 hour service. 4 hour service. So this is my equation 2. So we're going to try to get the relationship from this. So now this statement, I can change this to an improper fraction. And of course, that's going to give me 11. So I maybe let me just write it here, 11 over 2. Okay, so I'm going to subtract equation 2 from equation 1 in this case. Subtracting equation 2 from equation 1 means 35 minus 29 equals to A minus A plus 11 over 2B minus 4B. So let's work it out. 35 minus 29 simply is going to give me 6. While A minus A, they cancel out. So 11B minus 4B. I can just quickly work it out here. So this is going to be 2. It's going to give me a fraction. So that's going to be 2 as the denominator. Then 11 minus, that's 11B minus 8B. So this is 6 equals to 11B minus 8B is 3B over 2. So at the end of the day, when I cross multiply, 3B equals to 12. So B is simply 4 because this cancels out and we're left with B equals to 4. Okay, so since we've gotten a value for B, I can quickly slot that into any of the equations, either equation 1 or 2, to get my value for A. So I'm going to slot it into equation 2. Now remember, equation 2 says 29A plus 4B. Sorry, 29 equals to A plus 4B. That's what equation 2 tells us, this equation. Now, I'm going to slot B into the equation. So this is going to be 29 equals to A plus 4 times 4. And that gives me 16. So this is 29 equals to A plus 16. Therefore, A is simply 29 minus 16. So A is simply going to give me 1, 3. Value for B is 4. Value for A is 13. So the next thing I would need to do is to write out the relationship from this expression. I'm going to write out the relationship between between the cost and the time it takes to do the job. So that is going to be C equals to A is 13. C equals to 13 plus B is 4. 13 plus 40. So this is the relationship of this whole statement we were working on. That's the relationship. Now the final part of the question says find the cost of servicing for 7.5 hours. So we're going to be looking for the cost using this relationship. We're looking for the cost. So cost is simply 13 plus 4. Now, what is the time we were given? 7.5 hours. 7.5 hours. So, but we are going to turn this into an improper fraction. So the cost equals to 13 plus 2 times 7 is 14 plus 1, 15. So that's 4 times 15 over 2. 4 times 15 over 2. At the end of the day, I can take this 2 goes here 1. 2 goes in here into 4, 2. So 2 times 15 is 30. So C equals to 13 plus 30. So at the end of the day, the cost is 43 naira. So this is the cost for servicing for 7.5 hours. So I hope it's very clear to you now. Thank you. See you in the next video.